Hikers who had an encounter with a grizzly bear on a popular trail in Banff National Park now face charges.
Stealing a point-of-sale terminal is actually a very useful thing for criminals. They can study it, they can dismantle it.
And there's lots of little kids in the neighborhood that are curious about what's in a hole.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird.
Handsome Aaron Airport. We made it to episode 224 of Keep Canada Weird. It's been a journey. It's been an adventure. All these weekly collections of weird news, I think, have made us better people. And tonight, I think it's going to be our best episode yet. How you doing over there, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing very well. I had a nice day today. Went out to the small town of Gabaroos to visit some friends. And had a little beach time. Didn't get in the water. It's still freezing cold because of our very cold summer. Well, cooler summer that we're having here in Cape Breton specifically this year. So the water is taking a lot longer to warm up. So it's very difficult to get in right now.
Yeah, I find the best part of the beach, though, admittedly, I'm not a big beach guy, but my favorite part is the warm sand. I like when it's nice, soft sand and you lay in it, it's just like warm on your skin. I enjoy that more so than getting in that salty, dirty water that a million kids and fish have peed in.
No. The ocean cleanses itself, and the sand is filled with much more bacteria than the ocean would be.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't want to think about it. We got to get into it here. I want to start the show with a special shout out to all the communities in Chicago's northern and northwestern suburbs because their area code's 224.
Oh, an area code reference. Okay.
Not that interesting. The area codes are a little dry. Until we get to some Canadian area codes, it's not that exciting. So I've been trying to find some interesting facts about the numbers. We got that 222 scam, and that was pretty cool a couple episodes back.
Yeah.
The coolest thing I could find about number 224 is that mathematician and philosopher Alex Belos wrote an article that suggested that the number 224 was the most uninteresting number. And really how he came up with that is if you went through all the numbers before it, all of those numbers had their own, like they had something about them interesting enough to justify a Wikipedia page. 224 was the lowest number to not have its own Wikipedia page.
Wow.
Do you want to know the twist though?
Oh, of course. You're the M. Night Shyamalan of number information.
That article came out by this mathematician, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. The number 224 got a Wikipedia page, with the main thing being that it was the lowest number without a Wikipedia page.
Okay. There's no shame in giving up on the numbers segment.
No. Okay. I don't know.
But I will say this. I do want you to keep it going right up until, well, I'm not going to say, but there is an interesting number coming up very shortly.
Ooh.
And when we get there, that is the only episode that I will ever participate in the numbers segment. And it's coming up very soon.
When we get there, you should stop me and be like, Jordan, I got this.
Yes. Yeah.
And what else you can lead is the special drink segment. You got anything special on your desk there, Handsome Aaron Airport?
Well, on the special meter, I would rate this on the lower end, although I have declared in the past that I think all drinks are special. Hydration is special. Mm-hmm. But I do have a Gatorade Zero.
There's nothing wrong with that. Don't undersell that. I love Gatorade.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's just I've had it on the show before, yada, yada, yada. This is the name of the flavor. Normally, I would just call it blue, but it does actually have a name.
I'm curious about that.
Glacier Freeze.
Weird.
Ooh.
No one would ever call that. Why do they bother giving it a name? It's just like, that's the blue Gatorade. Everyone listening who knows Gatorade is like, oh, he's got the blue one.
Yeah, it's blue. Yeah, and it's such a artificial blue, and so it looks extremely refreshing. It looks like if a painter were to paint a crystal clear pool, this is what the water would look like.
I'm double fisting tonight because we got a lot of weird Canadian news stories to get into, and I don't think one special drink could get me there. So in my Robin's Donut ceramic mug, I have some tea, and I also got another one of those drinks my buddy Kevin got me. This one's a Pepsi with a bunch of raspberries on it in a language I don't understand. So I'm assuming it's a raspberry Pepsi. I'm not going to crack it now. We'll crack it as the show goes on. I want to get into the first story with you, though. This is a really interesting one. I like stories that involve viral videos in Canada, but I really like when the viral videos lead to criminal charges. And that's what we're getting into here. The story starts with a viral video that was posted on TikTok initially about a week ago. It involved a couple having a frightening encounter with a bear while walking their dog on a trail outside of Banff. In the video, which I'm going to play some audio for, but just to explain what you're hearing, in the video, which seems to be filmed by the wife, you see a bear following her husband, who's backing away from it, holding bear spray in his hand, and then they have their dog that's kind of running around the man, I'm assuming the husband, as he's backing up with the bear following. This is what that sounds like.
Craig, you're too close! Back off! Craig, you're too close! Lola, come here! Lola! What are we gonna do? We gotta get off the trail!
Back off!
Go, Bear, go!
Get out of here! Get out of here!
Okay, it is frightening looking because that man is very close to the bear, and the dog seems to just be agitating the whole thing.
Yeah. Does he have an accent or something? I'm trying to place his voice, like trying to figure out. Get out of here!
Get out of here!
Get out of here!
They're trying their best to convince the bear to leave, but the bear seems kind of just disinterested, just kind of stalking towards him. As the man, again, he's for the majority of what we hear there, he's walking backwards, holding out the bear spray as if it's a gun, like to kind of threaten the bear, as the dog is running around him, woofing and barking. But here's the update. I say this is a viral video that ends in charges. So that video gets posted to TikTok. It's being shared far and wide. People are looking at it both in terms of the wild survival tale that is surviving a bear close encounter like that, but also it's a glimpse into Canadian wilderness. But not everyone who watched that video was impressed. Here's how it ends in charges.
Hikers who had an encounter with a grizzly bear on a popular trail in Banff National Park now face charges. Video of the incident posted to social media shows someone holding a camera and then another person walking on a trail at Taylor Lake with an off-leash dog as a grizzly bear follows close behind. Parks Canada said wardens have now identified the individuals involved and laid charges for having an off-leash dog in the national park. Officials say it puts pets, their owners, and wildlife at risk, and off-leash dogs can also stress out the wildlife.
Damn. That story surprised me. When I heard that they were charged, I was like, what, did they like set it up and maybe they heard a bear in the making of it? No, they were charged with having their dog off leash, which is actually a pretty big deal and a pretty big offense in this
I get
national
it.
park.
I mean, you're supposed to leash your dog where it's supposed to be leashed. Some dog owners think, oh, our dog is this way or that way, so we don't have to follow that rule. It doesn't apply to us because our dog is well behaved or whatever the circumstance they see is. So I see it all the time. I walk a lot of trails and and most of the trails that I go to, in fact, all of them that I go to are trails where your dog is supposed to be leashed. And so many people, I'd say 60 to 70% of the people that I see walking dogs on these trails have them off their leash.
Not cool. Remember, we did the story. This is ages ago. We talked about an old guy in Montreal. Didn't the cops rough him up and arrest him because he wouldn't put his dog on a leash? You remember that? Ages ago. I want to read you a little bit of information. It's a piece of an article that gives a bit closer of a look at what these people did, what happened in that park in Banff, and why having the dog off leash is such a big deal. So the incident happened on the Taylor Lake Trail about 15 kilometers southeast of Lake Louise. Parks Canada officials charged the hikers after an investigation determined the dog was not properly restrained. The law says people have to keep their pet on a leash of 3 meters or less in a national park. If found guilty, the pair could face a fine of up to $25,000. An off-leash dog can create serious risks for both people and wildlife. Bear may see dogs as threats and react aggressively, which can lead to the dog being injured or killed. A frightened dog may also run back towards its owner, potentially bringing the bear with it. Parks Canada also warns that loose dogs can stress wildlife and cause animals to avoid important feeding areas and habitats. The bear involved in this video is Grizzly number 142, one of Banff National Park's most recognizable bears. She's an estimated 16-year-old female and the daughter of Bear 122, better known as the Boss. Grizzly bears are a threatened species in Alberta, and the federal government considers them a species of special concern. Parks Canada reminds visitors to keep pets leashed, carry bear spray, make noise on trails, and maintain a safe distance from wildlife. Is there anything interesting in that for you?
That's a doozy of a fine. It's $25,000. That would certainly set quite the example of these two. Because in the video, I think one of the things that really, I think, irked some of these officials is that she's able to film the entire interaction, but she can't pick up her dog and put it on a leash and keep it away from the bear.
Yeah, that is surprising and a little upsetting. I'm surprised she's filming the entire interaction for a few reasons. For one, you can hear in her voice she's panicked. She's breathing heavy. She's like, "What are we gonna do? Oh my God, it's following us." If I had that emotion, I can't imagine keeping my phone up the whole time. And it's clear when you watch the video that her dog is agitating it because he's running around and barking. If she just put her phone away, she could leash her dog and deal with that. And potentially, like if the bear does get her husband and tear him to shreds, why would she want to film that?
Yeah, the only reason she's filming is because this is going to get me a lot of views and likes and whatever on my TikTok or whatever social media app of her choice that she decides to post this on. And she knows it's going to spread far and wide and garner her lots of attention, so she can't help herself. And
that's kind of what I expected. When I heard that it was charges, I thought it was going to be something associated with that, but it doesn't seem like this is like influencers who are trying to like go viral and stuff. At least it doesn't seem to me. Maybe I'm missing something.
I don't think that she's an influencer, but certainly in the moment, she's probably, her instinct is to record the entire thing, and she's going to be able to blast this all over the internet.
Yeah, well, it seemed like it got blasted right to Parks Canada, and they didn't like and or subscribe or join her Patreon. No. We got a lot of other weird news to get into. We got some incredible segments tonight, including a segment all about restaurants getting screwed. I'm excited to get into that. We got 3 stories of restaurants being screwed. And we have a segment at the very end of the show that listeners of Keep Canada Weird the world over are taking part in. Last week, we talked about a trend we've been seeing amongst senior citizens. At this point, let's just call it the senior situation, which is just the placeholder name for the rise in misbehaving amongst our seniors. We covered several stories, 3 or 4 stories over 2 or 3 weeks or so involving seniors. We don't have any tonight. I think the senior citizens decided, let's just sit back and chill until they figure out a name for our segment. We have so many listeners who had ideas on what we should call this segment and theories on what's causing this issue. I'm going to play one now before we take our first break. This will give you an idea of the type of feedback we're getting. Later in the episode, we're going to hear from a lot of listeners, but let's start with Marilyn.
Hey, Jordan and Aaron. Marilyn here. I just listened to episode 223 that touched on the oldies committing crimes like stealing people's cats and robbing banks. It's terrible. I think it's called the Bad Lot Boomer Resurrection Shuffle. And basically, if boomers were badasses as teens or young adults, most likely at some point they got their lives together, got jobs, had families, and generally lived within the confines of the law. But as boomers get older and start losing their noodle, they start reverting back until they are basically gumming their food and pooping in their pants again. So you see, it's just the boomers going through their reverse teen problem. With more boldness and self-entitlement, I might add. I believe this could be a real problem, and perhaps your show can be the one that sheds light on it. And keep Canada weird. I love you guys.
Marilyn came up with the name, the Bad Lot Boomer Resurrection Shuffle, which I will say doesn't really have much of a ring to it, but I do enjoy her theory.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, I believe. Doesn't quite roll off the tongue. So I think it's a noble attempt. I think it's an interesting name, but unfortunately we need something a bit quicker, zingier than that. But her theory, though, I think really holds water in terms of the reverse mental aging of these seniors.
Yeah, it is interesting. But as I said, the name she came up with may not be the one we choose. We have plenty more ideas, but we're going to save it for the end of the show. Let's take our first break. When we get back, I promised you a trio of restaurants being screwed. I'm going to deliver after this short break.
This is Bruin from Ancaster, Ontario, here to tell you guys that I'm your puberty problem correspondent, and I would just like to let you know to sit down and listen to these ads so my friends here can get ready to tell you about the most weirdest thing you've ever heard ever.
Handsome Aaron Airport, this is going to be a good segment. My tea ran out. Let me crack open this raspberry Pepsi and get into it here. Let me tell you a good one. Anna May's Bakery and Restaurant in Millbank, Ontario found themselves faced with a business problem as modern as it is disruptive. Here's the story of the beloved bakery's closure that Google's AI falsely announced.
But like that, you know what I mean? Like how confusing that is?
It was a heart-stopping moment for Anna May's owner, Amanda Herford.
Panic. Panic is what I was thinking. How could this information be so wrong?
A friend sharing a Google search results describing the upcoming closure of her restaurant.
Anna May's Bakery and Restaurant in Millbank, Ontario, officially closed on July 31st, 2026. The beloved long-running establishment, famous for its roasted chicken and homemade pies.
The problem started a week before when another Anna May's in Illinois announced their closure. But she says the search results at that time were clear it was a different store.
If you actually looked up our name or our website or anything, it came up normal, it came up fine, everything looked as is, it said nothing about us closing.
That changed over the weekend when the Google AI results gave very specific information that Anna May's in Millbank was closing. Herford says people started calling, asking if they were shutting down.
So that's when I got very concerned, thinking this misinformation can ruin a business and perceptions of people and like spread false information very quickly.
According to experts, this type of mistake is common. While Anna May's mix-up appears to be an innocent mistake, sometimes the intentions can be nefarious. Herford says thankfully the problem was resolved quickly through the Google chatbot.
I just decided to put into the messages saying, "Hi, we are the owners, we are not closing. I think you have us confused with the Anna May's in Illinois that is closing." And then it wrote back and said, "Oh yes, I can see how this could be detrimental and we will get this fixed in our research right away."
Herford says she worries about the potential impact of this AI mix-up.
It was just a terrible thing to know that all your hard work can be undermined in such a short period of time by a confusing AI message.
We reached out to Google but did not receive comment by Airtime.
Shocker that Google didn't get back to them.
Yeah, I figured they'd be, the president and owner of Google would be just sitting there by the phone waiting. I'm sorry.
Yeah. This is the first time we've heard a story about Google's business results and, the hours of operation and all that stuff being wrong. You remember back in episode 199, we heard about the real estate agent who hired hackers to act like to change something so it looked like another rival real estate agency went out of business.
Yeah, I do remember that. And I mean, a lot of these, we've seen inaccurate Google information about restaurants even when it comes to the hours of operation. People can change that on their own and put the wrong thing in there, and that's been inaccurate. I don't want to blame AI too much on this because AI certainly makes mistakes. So do we as humans. And we've put our own inaccurate information on the internet all the time.
That's true.
So, yeah, so I don't want to be too hard on AI in this story.
I think we should recognize how harmful it could be to a business, though, because this isn't just some weird mention of the business going under online somewhere. This affects a lot of things. If you're visiting this town and you want to find a restaurant or a bakery or whatever, and you go on Google Maps and you look for nearby bakeries, if it thinks this one's closed, it's not going to show you. Or if it thinks the business is closed, it's not going to raise its profile in the search results and stuff. And nowadays, that a lot of people find out about businesses through Google searches and social media and stuff. So if someone as big as Google is putting out there that your business is no longer in operation, that could be a problem.
Oh, it is a problem. I'm not going to take that away from the situation. I think that, yeah, she could potentially lose business over this. And how do you measure that? I don't know. In terms of, say, she's going to approach Google, who's not going to pay any attention to her, and say, hey, you owe me $50,000 because for this period of time, Google said that my business was closed when it wasn't. So
yeah, I
don't know how you're going to be able to measure it. I don't think there's anything you can do about this. You just kind of have to grin and bear it. And it sucks and it's unfortunate and it's frustrating. But yeah, she just has to kind of take it.
Yeah, well, what I say is sometime you're the hammer and sometime you're the nail. And it sounds like Anna May's was the nail this time.
Well, I think her biggest issue is not necessarily with what Google did to her, but it's in the name of her business. So Anna May, right? Mm-hmm. So her name is Anna May. Mm-hmm. Am I correct?
Yeah, not anime like animation.
Exactly. So anime, which people commonly refer to as, the cartoon, anime. Mm-hmm. So people are maybe showing up to her restaurant expecting to see very colorful anime characters frolicking about serving them, and they're not getting that.
They show up with a gun and they're like, give me your Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
She's like, no, not that
no,
kind
please.
of anime.
My name is Anime. Like, no, we want the cards. Shut up.
Yeah, but the thing with this AI, like Google's AI results, we've seen it be wrong multiple times, both maliciously and accidentally. An interesting story. We never really covered this on the show, but I think it has been mentioned before. You and I are both from the island of Cape Breton. One of our most famous residents is probably the best fiddle player in the world, Ashley McIsaac. He was in the news not too long ago. In fact, I think he announced a lawsuit. He's suing Google. Their AI search results, when you searched his name for a period of time, it referred to him as Ashley McIsaac is a convicted sex offender, something. And it turned out it was mixing up Ashley McIsaac, the famous fiddle player, with some guy from the States with the same name that was arrested. And I think Ashley McIsaac, the fiddle player, actually had a concert canceled as a result of this.
That's right. Yeah, the promoters of that concert thought that he was a sex offender, so they took him off the bill.
Yeah, and so what's happening with the Google's AI search results? Of course, there's not a human being behind it. It's just a best guess based on everything Google can find on the internet. So if two people have the same name or two restaurants have the same name, it can become a problem. But it's not only Google's AI that makes these kinds of mistakes. Let us get into our second story of a restaurant being screwed. A Calgary donair shop owner says his business is owed thousands of dollars and had its reputation damaged after Alberta's health services named it in a closure notice that was actually meant for another restaurant 17 kilometers away. Here's the story of a donair shop's viral mouse infestation.
A notice of closure by Alberta Health Services was served to Hosan Donair Grill and Kebab in Bridlewood in recent weeks, alleging several violations regarding live mice and rodent damage. However, in the subject line of the notice, it lists Donair Grill. That is this establishment in Mahogany, some 17 kilometers away.
For something like that to happen and to impact us negatively, it's really disheartening.
Bonzi Haymore says after the notice began circulating online, customers vanished even though his shop wasn't the problem and never closed. Haymore previously owned the affected store in Bridlewood, but he sold it last August under Donair Grill, but that establishment did not change its name until last month. According to Alberta Health Services, business operators have a responsibility to notify of ownership or business name changes, adding it issued to the correct business location and the correct owner and was based on the findings in the inspection. AHS didn't acknowledge the name confusion to CTV, but in emails with Haymore said, "We sincerely apologize for any impact this error may have had on your business."
A dip in our walk-in traffic on our online sales. So it's definitely in the thousands.
AHS says once it became aware of the name change, it updated its records and removed the original notice. Haymore wants a public retraction, which was denied.
The health inspector at the time said, well, she walks into a bunch of businesses, doesn't really look up to see the name, and is just kind of walking into the business. And I can understand that. But at the same time, they got to do their due diligence.
One public relations expert says an incident like this can be quite damaging. He says a public retraction would be helpful, but it should focus on getting ahead of the issue.
Starts getting really active on social, and your story here is probably going to help a little bit just with the name differentiation. Prudent to have that company change the name because you don't know if their integrity is the same.
Who got it worse, Anna Mays or the donair shop that went viral for a mouse infestation that they actually didn't have?
I'd say the donair shop got it worse because when you have that stink labeled on you of health and safety issues of any kind, then people will absolutely stay away. Now, thankfully, they're trying to get ahead of this thing and they're going to the news. They're getting as many eyeballs on this issue as possible so that the general public knows that they are not the ones with mouse problems. So
yeah, it's an issue. And this one, I believe this company, this donair shop, did have financial loss because a post, like somebody must have found like the health inspector document or whatever, probably on some government website somewhere, showing that the restaurant had these problems and I think was supposed to be closed for a week or something. And people were sharing it online. So it did kind of go viral locally, news of this donair shop being closed and having a mouse infestation. So the stink, like you can't really say they got ahead of it because the stink was on them and now they're catching up to it by defending themselves, saying it wasn't us, it's a whole different business. But there is a connection, and this gets confusing. The guy who we heard in this news clip that didn't have the most problem but got the bad rep as a result of it, he owned the prior restaurant, I think like a year ago or something, and sold it. But the people he sold it to didn't change the name from his prior to what his restaurant was called until something different just recently. And that's what seems to have created the problem.
Yeah. I'm not sure what kind of situation that they were working through together when they were doing that sale. But but I mean, as we see in this situation, human error led to this problem. Mm-hmm. And then in our last one, it was an issue with AI making a mistake. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, that who makes more mistakes, AI or humans?
I'd say it's about even, honestly.
You think it's even at this stage in the game?
I think it's even, but AI is catching up big time. And one thing with technology is it's not going anywhere. If it's cheaper and faster, it's probably going to take over, like it or not. But this story isn't completely about AI. AI may have screwed over Animaze, but this case, it seems to be Alberta Health Services that's this Donair shop owner thinks should be wearing the black eye. He wants a retraction or an apology. They don't want to give it to him. Do you think they owe him one?
I think they owe him one. Yeah. I mean,
why not
his
just
business.
put it as a press release on their website? It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be this big thing.
Yeah, just write up, get AI to write you up a little apology, and then, put it out there and whatever, move on with your life. And that's the most they can really do in this situation is apologize, issue a statement, whatever. And then at least he's getting that out of it. He did clearly lose business. He said that they had a drop off in customers because of it. And so do whatever you can to help the guy out.
Yeah, I agree. So far we've heard of 2 restaurants being screwed, but I told you there were 3. We got another one, but this one is really interesting. This one is an absolute mystery. I love this news clip, and I'll tell you why after we listen to it. A woman walked into Domino's Pizza in Kitchener pretending to study the menu, but once staff turned their heads, she stole the store's point-of-sale terminal and fled. So for people who don't know, the point-of-sale terminal is like what I would call the debit machine. In the news clip, they refer to it as the POS terminal, which sounds to me like piece of... So I have to chuckle every time they say that. But let's hear the clip. Ultimately, this is going to be a discussion of not so much about what happened to Domino's Pizza, but really why are people stealing POS terminals? And I want you to pay close attention to what the expert they have on says about the theft of these terminals. Here's the clip.
It seemed like a typical Tuesday night at Domino's Pizza on Fairway Road in Kitchener. Around 10 p.m., security footage shows a customer walk in. According to staff, she said she needed a second to decide what she wanted.
She was pretending to having a look at the menu, but whereas checking out all the employees where they are and just looked for the perfect moment and grabbed the machine.
The suspect appears to act quickly, snatching the point-of-sale terminal right off the counter before taking off. She was in and out within 1 minute.
It was specifically the front debit machine that we use for the transaction for the walk-in customer specifically.
Staff say they called the company who makes the machines to deactivate it within minutes of them noticing it was gone. They say they just upgraded their machines last week.
They just store the value and not the card information itself. So there's no personal information of anybody on there.
A cybersecurity expert says the theft of point-of-sale terminals is becoming more and more common.
Stealing a point-of-sale terminal is actually a very useful thing for criminals. They can study it, they can dismantle it.
Claudia Upopa says businesses should be mindful about where these devices are kept.
The POS terminal should not be placed where the public can reach it unless it's time for them to interact with it. Otherwise, anyone could come by and unplug it and plug it back in or tamper with it in some other way that will result in losses, financial losses, or the device loss itself.
For a business, any food industry, like anything over $1,000 is a lot of money. It costs company money and it affects everybody.
Is it just me, or did that cybersecurity expert have a hard time explaining why criminals would want these piece of terminals and what they may do with them?
He has no idea what he's talking about. Yeah, he's sitting there. He's trying to craft out this answer of why they would want to steal a debit machine. He can't figure it out himself, that's for sure.
I think this man may have faked it and got on the news as a joke with his friends or something. Because he's like, there's many reasons criminals may want to get access to these terminals. They could study it.
They can study it. They can dismantle it.
His answer is for them to open it up and see how it works.
Yeah, it sounds like he's describing a UFO or something.
The owner of Domino's, no, not the owner, the manager of Domino's that they interviewed, knows more about the debit machine than the cybersecurity guy does, because he's there's no personal information stored on there, only the amount totals. So
yeah, where the cybersecurity expert says there's many things they may do with it.
Otherwise, anyone could come by and unplug it and plug it back in, or tamper with it in some other way.
His answer is they will do things with it.
Anyway, I just had to laugh at that, but they're stealing it for some reason. The actual device itself, that handheld device, it's probably worth a bit of money, but I don't think you could sell it because you need the other piece. Like there's the thing you hold in your hand and you put your card up to it and stuff. I always thought that there's some other thing sitting somewhere that the thing in your hand is like wirelessly communicating with. So if you run out of there with that handheld device, what could you possibly use it for?
I'm not sure. This one confused me because I really haven't heard of people stealing just the debit machines. Like I could see the actual system where you have an iPad and, you know, because a lot of POS systems now are just an iPad that you hold your card up to and you pay that way. But this is a very traditional, old school looking debit machine that wouldn't be valuable to really anybody but a business that wants to take debit from people.
The business owner said this thing cost about $1,000, which doesn't surprise me to buy it $1,000 new. But it's not like its resale value must be very, very low. Like who wants to buy like a stolen debit machine? What a great way to get yourself into trouble. If it did have all this personal information on it, like let's say if for whatever reason the actual handheld device kept a record of like all the credit cards and like an identity thief could use it, maybe I could see that. But according to the manager, that wasn't the case. According to the cybersecurity expert, these criminals are going to study it and possibly dismantle it.
Open it up and then put it back together and then plug it back in.
And just try to understand it. These criminals are just interested in science and engineering, and they just would love to dissect something like one of these machines.
I could see it like maybe if this is happening more than once, according to this cybersecurity expert. And there's a rise in people stealing these machines. It kind of reminds me of like a story about a time traveler where in the future, in order to make a certain technology work, there's a little piece of something that you need that can be commonly found in the old debit machines from the 2000s or whatever. So time travelers will come back to this time to steal these debit machines and then go back to the future to then use the pieces from it to build their whatever technology they're building. But the thing that I find even the most interesting, and they don't talk about this in the news story at all, and I'm kind of curious to get your opinion on it. Normally when you see these kind of thefts, you see an individual come in who has a certain look about them.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Often they have a hoodie on. They are kind of dressed almost a certain way, like dressed down, I'll say.
Yeah, like they look like they'd steal a debit machine.
They look like they'd steal a debit machine or the donation bin that's on the counter or something like that. That's the kind of person that you often see going in to do these quick, low-level crimes. But this individual,
she was giving Sabrina Carpenter.
She looked quite attractive and dressed very well. Like she looked like she was going to a nightclub.
Yeah, she did. You know what? The sad part is there's some scumbag guy in a car out in the parking lot, and he put her up to it.
You don't know that.
I guarantee you. I'll bet you 3 debit machines.
She could be the mastermind behind the whole. She could be the one building the time machine.
It's true. It could be a time machine thing, but it also sounds like the criminals are like, according to the cybersecurity expert, they're trying to like reverse engineer a debit machine. Like if we take it apart and we study it and see how it's built, we can build more. I don't know what use an organized criminal group of scientists would have for debit machines, though. So yeah, maybe the time travel thing is correct, and she has come back from the future to take our debit machines. She
does have a futuristic look about her with these, I don't know, superhero looking pants that she's wearing and
Yeah.
She has this almost futuristic hair. Yeah, I can see it. She's a sexy time traveler, and she's here for our very modern world debit machines.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. Those are 3 restaurants that have been screwed. Let's rank them in terms of most screwed. I would say the most screwed of the 3 is certainly the Alberta Health Services getting the Wrong Donaire shop closed.
I agree.
What would you say is the least screwed?
The Domino's.
Yeah. They owed $1,000.
Because Domino's is a giant company, and that's one debit machine. So.
Yeah, it's a giant company, but it's probably an independent franchise owner who owns that one and had their point of sale terminal stolen. He would have to replace it, which is probably $1,000. Is that worse than Google saying Anna Mae's was closed?
I'd say so, because I'd say Anna Mae could easily lose more than $1,000 with Google saying her business is closed for an extended period of time.
Good point. Okay, I'll agree with it. Well, let's take our second and final break. When we get back, we got some WTF stories, which for anyone new to Keep Canada Weird, the WTF column is just some stories that are weird, unique, and offbeat, but don't fit any specific theme. And we also have a big segment on the senior situation, naming situation, after this quick break. Handsome Aaron Airport. Residents on a Kitchener Boulevard say what started as a small dip in the road is actually a growing sinkhole that's slowly swallowing their entire community. Here's the story of the sinkhole swallowing Kitchener.
4 sandbags sit on this painted piece of plywood, covering a sinking hole that's been slowly swallowing part of this Kitchener road.
There was a foot drop inside the hole, and all the asphalt went down inside.
Yvonne Poir has lived on Blucher Boulevard for more than a decade. She says she noticed a dip in the road a few weeks ago.
I called the city and said, hey, somebody might want to look at this before it gets any worse.
But she says nothing happened, and as time stretched on, so did the dip, disintegrating into a dangerous sinkhole just a few days ago.
I was afraid somebody's going in that hole.
Poir warned drivers in her own way, getting creative in response to the city's inaction. Finally, she took to social media.
So maybe if more people would complain about it, and the neighbors all called in as well, and within 2 hours somebody was out here after I posted it.
But it hasn't been fixed yet, prompting even more safety concerns.
The cars, this street, they think it's a freeway because they drive down it pretty fast sometimes. And then they have to slow down for that if they do. And there's lots of little kids in the neighborhood that are curious about what's in a hole.
Residents here on Blucher Boulevard say they've filed reports and even contacted the city directly, but they feel the sinkhole safety hazard is not being prioritized. Councillor Stephanie Stretch tells CTV News the problem stems from a damaged pipe under the road. It'll have to be repaired first, and then the hole will be filled. The work is scheduled for next week.
Well, I'm sure they have a lot of holes and a lot of stuff to fix, but I think they need to kind of maybe prioritize which ones are more dangerous than other ones.
That was a good story.
Oh, it was a doozy, I'll say.
We've done quite a few hole stories. I didn't really set it up in that context, but as far as hole stories go, this one had it all.
It had it all. It had a hole.
It did have a hole, but it wasn't that big of a hole.
No.
You didn't hear it at all, but I've seen some kind of live reporting as well from this story where there's a reporter standing on the street and being like, I'm on the scene now on Belcher Boulevard where the sinkhole is caused by... But it's not that big of a hole. To me, it looks like if you needed to wait 2 weeks for the city to fix it, a bag or two of gravel would have filled this and you'd be fine. To me, this doesn't look like a life or death hole.
No, I guess the only thing is you'd want to inspect to see how compromised the area is around the hole.
Mm-hmm.
So is it going to widen even further? Do residents need to be very cautious of the area around the hole as opposed to just the hole itself?
Yeah.
We don't know that. We're not civic engineers, you and I, so that's probably an area that's not really in our wheelhouse.
But you know whose wheelhouse it is in is the people who said we're going to fix it in 2 weeks. So I assume they did their due diligence.
Yeah, that's right. They probably maybe looked at it and said, this is a dumb hole. Let's wait for a while.
Yeah, and they just put like a piece of plywood over it, and they're like, "Oh, we'll fix this hole in 2 weeks." It's them who would be sued if someone fell into this hole and got killed, and it got worse or something. As it stands now, no one's going to get hurt in this hole. It's only a foot deep.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, you can trip over this hole and skin your knee pretty bad.
Yeah, that's a good point. I want to talk though about the old lady who they interviewed on her front step. She said, for one, she complained about the people driving by, which made me think maybe she's behind the hole. She's like, people tear through here like it's the freeway, and they may slow down now because of this hole. That made me think maybe, this lady obviously created this hole somehow. But then it was a little like, if she was behind it, her next statement was pretty chilling when she's like, and many children may be curious to know what's in that hole.
Yeah, that's right. She does sound like the evil lady who lives on the corner that nobody goes to her house, and when somebody disappears in the neighborhood, then she's the first suspect.
Yeah.
And now she's got this hole that people can disappear into, and
she just sits on the front step, rocking back and forth, laughing.
I told them to fix that hole, and they never did. Ooh.
Yeah, I did enjoy her, though. It sounded like, you see so many movies. There's some like old, seemingly crazy person early in the movie that's giving a warning.
Yes, yeah.
I'm just thinking now of Friday the 13th with Jason Voorhees. There's like a group of kids are like going to a campground or something, and they run into this crazy guy at the gas station. He's like,
never come back again. It's got a death curse.
And they're kind of like, this guy's nuts. But, then look what happens.
That's right, yeah. So she's warning people about this hole at the very beginning of the Hole movie. We'll call it Hole the movie. All of the neighborhood gets sucked up into this hole except for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's just eating her just desserts,
Yeah, the end credits is just her sitting on the front step, rocking back and forth, being like, I tried to tell them.
Yeah,
they laughed at me.
Yeah, the hole only gets bigger if you ignore the hole. I told you about the hole.
Let's move on to another story that maybe is as apocalyptic as a hole swallowing Kitchener. I said this is a WTF segment. This could easily have been the apocalypse segment, because as holes are swallowing Kitchener, mosquitoes are consuming Saskatchewan. For people in many parts of Saskatchewan, this summer's mosquito populations are less of an inconvenience and more like an invasion. There's hundreds of bites, vague clouds of bugs passing by, and out-of-stock bug spray signs that are becoming common scenes. Here's the story of how mosquitoes are consuming Saskatchewan. And it's chilling, because I hate mosquitoes.
It feels like the attack of the mosquitoes this year. It seems you can't get outside without getting bit.
Oh my God, they're horrible. Last night I went in the backyard and I got like 30 bites in about 10 seconds.
Mosquito counts in Saskatchewan are way up, with numbers up year over year and beating the 10-year average. In Saskatoon traps, there were an average of 168 this week. That's compared to 5 mosquitoes per trap last year at this time. Regina has 12 traps throughout the city, with an average of 200 this week. Last year, it was an average of 10. Just outside of Regina, in rural areas, there are over 400 compared to just 8 in 2025. Stores have seen the uptick too, with mosquito spray sold out at many locations. Some retailers have even put a limit to how many bottles a person can purchase.
Just the other week, I went to 3 different places in a row trying to find bug spray. That's crazy.
City of Saskatoon entomologist says the rainfall and hot weather is the perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes. And while this is a huge increase, it could feel like more because of years of drought.
The 10-year average that I report, the 12 mosquitoes on average per trap, that's, 10 years of drought. So they definitely feel bad right now, but a lot of that might also just be because we aren't used to seeing as many mosquitoes.
She says the city has been trying to help keep them at bay.
Our teams will go out after every significant rain event to go see if there is mosquito activity. And if they meet that threshold, they will apply a product known as Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis. It's a mosquito-killing bacteria that only affects mosquitoes and closely related allies.
People are asked to clear or cover pooled water in yards and cut grass short to minimize the numbers, with everyone doing what they can to tackle the pesky biters.
They're not attracted to white.
They like dark colors. So if you do your research, you're okay.
I hate mosquitoes. You know, one thing I really noticed after moving from Cape Breton, however long ago it was, 20 years ago, into Halifax, I rarely encounter mosquitoes. And it's one thing I certainly don't miss. I can't stand those pricks.
Oh yeah. They're annoying for sure, but I just find that the more that climate change and all these things, you just can't go outside anymore. It's either it's ticks or it's mosquitoes or it's this and that. It's like you can't enjoy anything anymore, and we're really starting to feel the effects of that. I feel, but
are we getting softer or is it getting more dangerous out there? Because I will tell you, like, ticks are a real concern, and they weren't when we were kids. I didn't hear about ticks until 15 years ago, probably.
Well, really, in the past 5 years is when you've been hearing so much about ticks and so much about Lyme disease and all the different illnesses that one can get from ticks and how dangerous it is and how many more ticks there are now because ticks have... Anyway, we're talking too much about ticks, but...
We did hear from one lady in that news story that she said she got bit 30 times in 10 seconds.
30 times in 10 seconds. That's intense.
She must be delicious.
What I'm thinking, though, is there's a great business opportunity here for people who have access to lots of bug spray, such as ourselves here in Atlantic Canada. We are not having any droughts of bug spray. So perhaps we could be selling our bug spray to people over there who can't find any, and they'll buy it off us and we'll mail it to them.
That's true. We could do that, but I would feel disingenuous. I don't know if that's the right word, but I don't find bug spray ever works. Like if there's mosquitoes around, you could bathe me in bug spray and they're still going to bite me. I've never put on a bug spray or repellent or anything that seemed to do anything.
Well, I think are you using one that has DEET in it?
I don't know.
That's the big difference maker, I find.
Either way, I feel for the people of Saskatchewan. If you're out there getting by mosquitoes, that sucks so bad. I am impressed, though, by the Saskatoon entomologist they have on staff who sets traps and goes and looks at how many mosquitoes there are and stuff. I thought that was something that only happened in Disney World. And people who've ever traveled to Florida to go to Disney World, it's actually quite cool because it's all of Disney World, or a lot of it, is built almost on like swampland. There's all these lakes and pools and everything else, but there are no mosquitoes. And I watched a documentary on YouTube about the lengths that Disney World goes to trap and investigate and inspect and control mosquitoes to make them basically non-existent in Disney World. And it's actually pretty cool.
Wow. Okay. That sounds interesting.
Yeah. Not as interesting as the situation we found ourselves in concerning the naming of our upcoming segment that will be a story that we're going to be covering probably for the next 5 or 10 years. I'm talking about what we're referring to now as simply the senior situation. Last week, you called out to listeners the world over to help us come up with a name for this segment. We have the animal uprising. We have the puberty problem. We know that there's a situation with the seniors. We just need a name to put on it. Rather than playing you individual voicemails on that topic, we'd be here all night because I probably got 16,000 of them. I made a little collage of some really good names for the senior situation. You ready to hear them?
Yeah, I'm so ready. I've been looking forward to this all night.
It's a good one. I'd say grab a pen and paper because there are a lot of good names that get tossed out, and we'll recap them at the end of the senior situation naming situation collage that's about to start.
This is Katrina calling from Kitchener. I just listened to episode 223 of Keep Canada Weird, and I think it's one of your best yet. Just wanted to call in about seniors behaving badly with a couple of suggestions. I was thinking that you might want to call it the Silver Slide or the Silver Spree, just in reference to, gray hair and sliding toward destruction, decreased morals, not sure.
I'd like to suggest a name for your new segment. How about Seniors Gone Sideways?
Hey, Aaron and Jordan. I think it should be called Elderly Escalation.
Let me know what you think.
This is Christy from San Mateo, and I thought about Golden Gangsters or Geriatric Gangsters.
This is Liz. I'm calling in from Colorado in the United States, and I was just listening to your podcast today about seniors who've gone bad, and I really identified with that. I find myself increasingly appalled and frustrated by the behavior of some senior citizens within the last number of years. And I came up with a few possible nicknames for this social phenomenon. Firstly, the senior souring, or geriatric jerks, or perhaps the boomer breakdown.
Hello, this is Mark from Medicine Hat. I came up with unscrupulous seniors. Hope you like it.
This is Shay from Oregon. I had some thoughts on your senior situation. Here's some ideas of names we could go with. Senior skullduggery, senior shenanigans.
Hello, this is Stephen from Kentville. So I was listening to your episode 223 about the seniors. Well, I believe it's because we're grandparents and we're trying to take away the focus of the puberty issue towards us so that we can protect our grandkids. You know, there are kids out there that are awesome. But then there's also the, self-driving vehicle. Oh well. We can't win them all. Keep Canada weird.
Those are some great options.
Some really good ones in there.
Any standouts?
Yeah, there's two that I wrote down that I think are the front runners for me. I don't know how you feel about, like, if you've got a couple that you're highlighting, but I do have two.
I really like the senior souring. That was from Liz.
Oh, really? I liked that one, but I didn't put it in my top two.
Okay. If I had to come up with a top two, it was probably senior souring and elderly escalation.
Okay, I had elderly escalation in my top two.
Okay. And
I really liked the boomer breakdown as well. Just because now the issue with boomer breakdown is that there are seniors that are older than the boomers.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like if you're 110 years old, you're certainly not a boomer, but you're definitely a senior.
That's right. That's right.
You're a super senior.
But I love how boomer breakdown feels to say. It sounds really good. But we both liked elderly escalation.
Yeah. What about the silver slide? That's what Katrina came up with.
The silver slide, yeah.
And she went on to explain, like, sliding into, like, disarray and chaos.
Mm-hmm. It's good. It's good.
I want the words to go well together, but I also want them to really explain it. The problem I have with elderly escalation is it escalating?
Well, the elderly certainly are escalating their behavior, their bad behavior.
What about senior souring? Because they are certainly souring. And I think this ties into Marilyn's voicemail that we heard at the very beginning of the show. She had this idea is that when you're retired and you're just sick of it, maybe you have a little bit of entitlement. You really don't got that much to lose.
What if we flipped it? Instead of seniors souring, it's souring seniors.
Ooh. Stories of souring seniors.
Souring, yeah. Welcome to souring seniors, the seniors who are souring.
Welcome to another collection of souring seniors.
Yeah.
And we do it. Welcome to Saturday's stories of souring seniors. We do an episode every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday and Sunday stories of souring seniors.
Yeah, that in a totally alternate dimension would work if we were to be recording episodes about souring seniors every Saturday and Sunday. you know.
Oh, coming this spring, every Saturday and Sunday, Stories of Souring Seniors on Spotify.
Wherever you get your podcasts about souring seniors.
I like Souring Seniors.
Yeah.
I would give Liz the credit for it if we went with that, because she came up with the senior souring.
I wouldn't go that far. I think once we reverse it, she's lost all rights to it. So I think it then becomes fully ours, and our ideas that we can claim as completely thought up by us.
And we'll sell T-shirts.
Because we came up with the idea to reverse it. So that's the idea.
So why don't we do this? For now, let's go with Souring Seniors. When we get our next story involving a senior behaving badly, we'll introduce it with that terminology and we'll just see how it feels.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good way to move forward with this. And I'd like to thank all the listeners who contributed ideas. There wasn't a bad idea contributed in that collage.
Not in that collage, but Marilyn's name.
That's why I specified.
The Bad Lot Boomer. What was it?
I couldn't even begin to repeat it.
I think it's called the Bad Lot Boomer Resurrection Shuffle.
A big black bug bit a big black bear, and the big black bear bled blue black blood.
That was her idea. Yeah. Are we still open to more suggestions if anyone has like a last minute? Wait, you guys, I got a good one.
Yeah, if anyone has a mic drop, then certainly leave a voicemail. You know.
Yeah, go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and let us know, because we're still open to changing things. It's not set in stone yet. It's not set in stone until we introduce our first story on that topic with that name. And to be honest, we had 3, I think, stories of seniors behaving badly in 224 episodes. So we'll see.
But they all happened back to back. So that's why we're here. That's why we've decided to put a name on this phenomenon. And and we'll see what happens next week. Maybe there'll be a new flood of souring seniors.
We'll see.
Selling seashells by the seashore.
All right. Well, we've gone through a lot tonight. We heard of restaurants getting screwed. We had 2 dystopian stories of sinkholes and mosquitoes, and I guess grizzly bears to a lesser extent. I think our work here is done. You want to put a bow on this, Handsome Aaron Airport?
I'd like to put a nice, pretty bow on it.
Handsome Aaron Airport. Until next time.
Jordan Bus Stop, Backhoe, Mosquito Bonaparte. Until next time.
If we were out in the woods walking and a bear approached, I certainly wouldn't be letting my sweet girl Penny get anywhere near that damn thing. I would drop my phone, I would pick her up, hold her in my embrace, and I would kiss her right on the top of her nose and say, "Don't worry, Penny. I'll never let a bear hurt you." And her big brown eyes would just look at me kind of stunned and be like, "I know, Dad. I love you."
Wow. That was quite a story you just told.
I love that girl.
Yeah, well, if I was hiking Jordan, until next time, if I was hiking in the woods and a bear attacked and I had Ken Tiggs with me, then I would simply step back and whisper to the bear, "Your mistake." And then
I get the hell out of here.
Ken Tiggs would saunter towards him and meow at him loudly while he was trying to record a podcast until the bear got really annoyed. And then the bear closed the door and kept recording his podcast.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. Now, if any one of you listening want to get more involved in what we're doing, we need all the correspondence we can get. So if something weird happens in your area, or if you have any thoughts on anything we discussed tonight, let us know about it. The best way to reach us is by using the voice recorder that can be found at thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Now, I'm going to start wrapping up the episode, but before we part, let us thank a few people. First of all, Aaron and I want to give a big thank you to all the correspondents who contributed to this episode. If your voice message was aired on the show, go back to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and fill out the form to claim your swag pack and Keep Canada Weird badge. We'll happily get it right out to you. Next, a big shout out to Unicole for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada that you're about to hear. And then lastly, but most importantly, we have a massive thank you to every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this work would be impossible. And for any one of you out there who want to support the show financially and get more out of the show at the same time, please consider the premium feed. Our premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of Keep Canada Weird episodes and bonuses. You can go premium at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if the premium feed isn't for you, you can still support the show by simply sharing episodes on social media. That's free, and it's a big help. So until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and please keep Canada weird.
Thank you for keeping Canada weird.